Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to this episode of Washington Live, powered by KCTC. I'm your host, Jaron Rosien. Our producer is Nick Steffens. Our publisher is Matt Bryant. We're part of the Southeast Iowa Union, and today our guest is Zach Rozmus, the Executive Director of the Washington County Conservation. Hi, Zach.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you having me this morning.
Yeah, excited to talk about the things. Zach is joining us from the start of the things because, well, the police report does sometimes relate. You get to wear both hats. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wear a lot of hats, so I still get a little bit of law enforcement in the line of work that I do. So,
is it DNR?
So county level instead of state level. So 99 counties. Each county has a conservation board. Just so it's county level instead of state.
I like it. You get to do the fun stuff, but you're also not messing around.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good. We'll dive into that in a minute. But first, the usual business. If you have a birthday, shout out, anniversary, or local event that you would like to plug, please stick that in the chat, or you can email that to washialive@gmail.com. We had a little therapy right out the gate. I'm not going to lie. I came in a little hot under the collar for a couple reasons, one of which I will share. The scooters that's going in is private enterprise. It is not related to the city of Washington. If government tried to control what you do with your private property, people would lose their mind. But people are losing their mind like the city is putting in scooters. Just to let you know, that's not the case. It's a private sale of ground. It's a building that's going up, and that's it. I have to get it off my chest. Sorry, Nick. Sorry, Zach. I know I came in rolling to someone on Facebook, and I shouldn't pay too much attention to social media as we're on Facebook Live. What are our elected officials doing for us? We need to vote them out. They're letting us scooters come into Washington? All right. It's done. I'm out. Swing in weather as we speak. It is 58 degrees and sunny. I'm still wearing shorts. I only wore pants.
I was going to make a comment about it when you walked in. I don't know how you're doing it.
It's like beautiful out.
You're wearing short sleeves and shorts. I woke up and it was, 40 degrees?
The high today will be 80, I heard from my Alexa when I walked down those stairs, and that's when I selected the shorts versus the pants personally.
I'm fact checking that. 78.
I think we have two. What is on your? So we're wearing work clothes. You're wearing work clothes. What do you have on your agenda today after this?
Yeah, so we have the Halloween hike that's tomorrow night at Mar Park. So we have a lot of prep work that we got to do. Kind of preparing for that. A lot of setup along the trail system that we do. Just preparing activities. Kind of all hands on deck for my entire staff.
Prepping the trail. So pants for you for sure.
It's pretty much, kind of everyone always makes fun of the green pants, when you work in conservation, type of thing. That's like a dead giveaway that they're either working in natural resources or working for conservation. So green pants and a t-shirt, that's usually my attire most days. So.
Nothing to be made fun of.
No, it's just, I own it. I kind of like that rugged outdoorsy look a little bit, so I can go with that.
Well, when it comes to the city hats, I've said this to Deanna just this week, like of all of the jobs, like Nick Pace's job is the job. That's the one I would want.
Right.
Are you kidding? There's certainly the office element, but to work outside.
He's actually going to be on the show Monday. So
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So let's focus. I am a little bit.
It's a Friday show.
Disgruntled today, so so I'm going to do the police report. We've covered the weather. We've covered birthdays. We have 49 calls for service since we last spoke. 17 in traffic, winning the prize. We click right down to 4 in the categories of harassment, public service, animal, arrest warrant, fire, assault, welfare, court order, and all other offenses. Are you in the responding list at all on this chunk of things?
I don't think I am on any of those. We did get a couple calls about a lot of times when the brush fire stuff's going on, we have some equipment that we have at conservation that we're kind of put on standby, where we have some UTVs with some special equipment that we use for prescribed fire in our department, that we do a lot of management of, native prairies, native grasses and stuff along those lines. So a lot of times...
Because you do a controlled burn on those.
Correct. Yeah. But it's like very specific high pressure nozzles that we have mounted on, mobile units. So a lot of times we're put on standby on some of this stuff because the conditions that we've had recently, it's still crazy dry out there right now. I mean, with what we've been having. And then even if you're looking at tomorrow, where in the last week and a half, we've had some red flag warnings, here, which that's not something we typically get, very often here in Iowa, where essentially the weather conditions, the, wind associated with that, the dryness, all kind of comes into play, where tomorrow I think it's supposed to be 30-mile-an-hour winds. So that's something that people need to be aware of for sure.
So similar to the grass trucks, are different or the same, like specialized?
Completely different.
How is it different than the grass trucks?
These are
just designed for the grass.
Yeah, so these are smaller UTVs is what they are. So side-by-side type gator. And we're taking roughly 100 gallons of water with us, but we do have high pressure.
Foam too? Are you using foam?
We do have capability of using foam, but we do not. We don't use that typically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you swing back to the red flag warning? Are there other colors of the flag that go with?
I don't know that I'm.
Or is red flag is kind of the one like, hey,
I don't
stuff because it'll just catch.
I don't know that I've ever been like a certified lifeguard where all the all the ocean, the ocean, what all the flag warnings specifically mean. I know that red is not good when it comes down to the flag warnings, which essentially that's just all the conditions coupled with the wind. There's really good chance of fire spreading and spreading very quickly. So that's why a lot of times it could be coupled with a burn ban at the same time.
Well, I remember a call. There was a turkey compost on fire. Did we talk about this on air?
I don't think we talked about it on air.
In conversation. It made me think of Thanksgiving. Can you imagine a pile of deceased turkeys catching on fire and the wind takes off? And I'm thinking Thanksgiving, roast turkey, like not in the right way. Not related to grass and not important for this. We're going to finish the police report and we're going to go to break, and then we'll really dive into some of the, as we mentioned, I love to start with background and how you get into conservation and then the work that you're doing with conservation. But before we do that, let's click the highlights that you've pulled for me. You're not in the police report this go around, are you, Nick?
I'm not. Been on my best behavior.
Best behavior in Mount Pleasant. However, East County side, we have call a request or a welfare check on an employee who hasn't been to work in a few days and they are unable to make contact with him by phone. 9211 responded and spoke with the subject. Caller was made aware he was located.
I think that's called quitting.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. On the southwest side of the county, we have a report of a male subject sitting in a truck staring at the clerk. 92.9 responded. Subject took off in his vehicle. Short vehicle pursuit. Unable to locate the vehicle or male subject. Charges will be filed for eluding, reckless driving, and violation of no contact order. We read in between the lines. We don't judge, but there is some trouble afoot.
He got away.
I am confused by that, and I mean, might as well dive into it since we didn't do it. High-speed pursuits, have you done many? A handful?
I have been a part of several high-speed pursuits, in the past, yes.
And I suppose the rule would be to balance the potential danger of public and yourself versus the need to apprehend, or what is the line that you...
And I think first and foremost is that I never want to play Monday morning quarterback for what another officer is seeing at the time, type of thing too. But obviously there's the severity of escalation, in certain circumstances. If you have an armed robbery subject, type of thing that's, left a scene or something along those lines, maybe you're going to, expand that search a little bit more. If it goes to another county, maybe it's going to involve the state police coming in at some point in time too. Because I think one of the things that happens really quickly when you leave county lines, and especially if you're not super familiar with the area, maybe you're a transplant here in Washington County. Sure. If you get into another county and get on county roads really quick, I mean,
you could have
you don't know where you're going, type of thing, where it almost becomes a risk for the officer at that point in time too, where if you don't know there's a hairpin turn coming up, that can become a dangerous situation, rather quickly, where one of the things you come really familiar with, being especially a deputy, is that you get to know a lot of the roads like the back of your hand. You're really familiar with the 100 blocks, how that associates itself, type of thing too. So, but it's all just about the severity of the situation for sure, because, if it's a minor $5 parking ticket, is it worth the risk?
This is assault or no
exactly,
contact situation here, there's no violence.
Yeah, right, it sounds like they knew who the guy was.
Yeah.
If the clerk recognized him, so it makes it easy.
I mean, in that situation, if you already had the subject ID'd at that point in time, maybe it's not as big of a deal to have a chase across the entire county. Maybe this, other than just sometimes it's the ego side of it for us, where we don't want them to get away too, type of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for allowing the interrogation, although you did submit yourself to the hot seat. Like, I'll join for the first part as we dive into this. That does take me back. Washington has a great outline of roads. As on my drive to Richland, I took a different path than normal. I took Old 92 instead of Highway 1.
Yep.
And saw the B. So are you familiar with how the roads go from east to west? It's the alphabet, and they're all based off of trees.
Oh, I did not piece that together.
Yeah, I think every mile and every tree, numbers from north to south, and trees from east to west.
I mean, I picked up on the numbers. I didn't pick up on it being tree names.
Follows the alphabet. Huh. Can you name all of them? Do you know the whole?
I'm sure I could, if I was put on the spot and if I go through it, because some of them have two. Like there's some of them that
I think that's what I saw, because so A would ash.
Yep, ash.
B is
birch.
But there's a bucket.
Yep.
That's what I saw that I had not noticed before.
Because there's some areas too where if it's on the south end or north end of the county where maybe it's a road that originates in Johnson County or it originates in Jefferson County, where they just take that name and bring it into Washington County, sometimes too. Because there's one down east of Brighton that's called Toad Flax, type of thing. That's
right.
That come from Henry County, in that location too. Wow. So Toad
Flax, and then Hoot Owl Hollow would be the other unique road that's right down by a family farm. And I think that was the most stolen sign.
It is. I was actually just going to say that it actually at one point in time, I'm not sure if it's still the case, it was the most stolen sign. That and Old Man Creek were the two most stolen signs in Washington County. Where there for a while there was a period of time where instead of replacing it with a metal sign, it was just a painted on wood sign that said Hoot Owl Hollow on it. Because
I remember seeing that for a minute, and now it's back to normal. It's still intact, and this is where we hunt and do things. All right, am I on track? Not at all. And thank you for watching. To our listeners who make this show possible and put up with all of these shenanigans. A couple more things to report. Highway 1 caller reports, our first pig. We have a pig running loose on the highway. 9213 responded and checked the area, but was unable to locate the animal.
No, we've had chickens, cows,
we had a bull. I had a turkey. I almost had a turkey on my way.
We've had deer as well, so we almost got the entire farm. Now that we've gotten a hog.
Thank you, Nick. We have one other report that you pulled from Iowa City. So we cover snakes. There are snakes in the AC unit, the bathroom, and the closet. Request help removing them. Respondent is walking home, 10-minute ETA. So they, I don't know how that all works. They know about the snakes, but they left the snakes. Caller advised he smells gas in the building. He told the manager this, and the manager told him it wasn't gas, it was tofu. We do appreciate a few of the Iowa City things. There's actually an entire book of the Iowa City police log that a colleague of mine named Christopher did. He was a fellow CAN bus driver, and he started a blog pulling the highlights. It became so popular, he made a book of the highlights that was a fundraiser for a local cause, and it's kind of spun off. So sometimes I have that Facebook page clicked on our page so we can see a few things.
Yeah, if it's a slow day, just go to that one.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I used to do a really good job, and we'll get to this for some of my background, but when I was a deputy, I always used to take a notebook at the end of every shift, and I would write down stuff that happened. And so I had this entire notebook, because most of the time people, some of the stories that you would tell people, they just wouldn't believe them, because the first question they always ask you is what's the craziest thing you've ever seen, and it's just sometimes it's just it's just the day-to-day stuff that it's just people wouldn't believe it, but it's just you write it down, and it's fun to read back through for sure.
And as we do this, we've recognized the hats that yourself and others in public safety wear that are just beyond serve and protect, but therapist, family counselor, is it just helping animal control that's what I'm most excited to talk about. I want to talk about the owls, and that we will do.
That's what it's, you guys are talking about all the animal stuff, and the city sees this more than anything, type of thing too. They're the first individuals to respond and all that stuff, where it's who do you call? You call the police, because there's, whatever animals stuck in your AC unit or whatever it is,
flying around your house. Yeah,
exactly. Because they don't know who else to call. So a lot of times you're just kind of the first tip of the spear on a lot of that stuff.
Or have people call when their fire alarms are beeping. and they call the police for some reason.
Oh, it wouldn't go, and it's a whole different thing. We're going to go to break, but as we work on interacting more in the chat, if there's a question that you would like to have answered in the category of county conservation, of course, you'd have to be watching live to throw that question in. If you throw it in after the fact, we'd struggle through it a touch. But if there's something that you'd like us to ask, please throw that in the chat. And join us after the break, where we pick up right where we left off with Zach Rozmus from County Conservation. We'll start with animals. We'll see you after the break.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a type of care that focuses on living. Servicing a 7-county area, the Hospice of Washington County staff of nurses, social work, hospice aides, spiritual and grief support, volunteers, music and massage therapists are able to provide free end-of-life care where the patient lives. We write wills, give consent for organ donation, but rarely is there a plan for what we would want the final phase of our lives. At Hospice of Washington County, we encourage our patients to be in charge of their healthcare decisions while maintaining quality of life.
Hey, Vina. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I really like bad puns. That's just how I roll.
Welcome back to Washington Live, powered by KCTC. I'm your host, Jaron Rosien. I'm joined in the studio by our producer, Nick, and our guest today, Zach. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I want to dive into all of the subject matter, but I want to stick to our format of a little bit of background first. Would you share with our viewers the path to county conservation and how you landed where you are now?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Washington County and grew up in the Riverside area. I was fortunate enough that I actually got hired as a sheriff deputy for Washington County when I was 19 years old. So I was fairly young.
There's another young one on the team as well, Mr. Schlabach.
Yeah, Noah just got hired on, kind of similar type scenario. And that kind of changed my path. Growing up, I never thought right away. That wasn't the first thing I told people, is that, hey, I was going to be in law enforcement, type of thing. That wasn't the first thing that came to mind. Worked a lot of different jobs with my hands, construction, different type of stuff. Ended up getting my degree in criminal justice. So I have a degree in criminal justice.
So 19 criminal justice. Did they also send you to academy
Yeah, so I guess to work through things, got hired by the sheriff's office. They were able to allow me to finish my degree. So I finished my degree kind of while I was, kind of working through the process, kind of worked at the jail for a little while.
Would that have been Jerry Dunbar or Jared Schneider?
Jerry Dunbar hired me, is what it was.
We're connected on that path, by the way. Pam and her family own Mason True Value Hardware. My very first job as a kid and all through college was connected to the Mason and Dunbar family. I just wanted to share with you. But
ended up being at the sheriff's office for about 6.5 years. Worked overnights almost exclusively the entire time. I enjoyed working third shift. A big part of that is the camaraderie side of it. I felt like we had a really good group of people that were working on nights, But when it came down to it, natural resources has just kind of always been in my blood. I grew up every single weekend hunting, fishing, hiking, doing all that stuff. So it's just ingrained on who I am. I wouldn't say there was nothing wrong with. I had told people all the time that I thought I was going to retire at the sheriff's office. I really did. An opportunity presented itself here within Washington County where a law enforcement position at county conservation came open. And I felt like I had to put in. I had to put in for it. Ended up, the way that things kind of worked themselves out, I was a ranger for, under a year. The director position came open during that time. And, I'd kind of worked out a relationship with the former director at County Conservation, Steve Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, yeah.
Yep. So him and I still have a good relationship today, where,
he has a lot of knowledge.
Absolutely. He absolutely. 34-year career here in Washington County, did a lot of great things for the county, and worked a relationship where I think that he saw potential in me, and I appreciated that too. Ended up putting him for the director position, and now I've been in my role for over 4 years now.
That flies by. It doesn't feel like
so I would say from like the actual natural resources side of it, like I don't have, the bachelor's in environmental science or anything like that, but I would say, growing up.
Equivalent experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's, but I have a lot more law enforcement experience than what typically individuals in the conservation field, have, which definitely benefits us, because we have 18 recreation areas and about 2,500 acres of property that we oversee. And with just that sheer amount of property, there's going to be violations that are occurring. And the way that things are currently.
We see those in the paper when they happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trespassing with mushroom hunting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would be one that comes to mind.
Yeah, mushroom season can get crazy. But one of the things that's unique
Poaching and deer. Oh yeah, you're going to go into it.
One of the things that's unique about Washington County is that we don't actually have a warden from the state that's actually sectioned strictly to Washington County. So we feel a little bit more need from the law enforcement side of it related to the fish and game violations than maybe what another county, would be at a county conservation level.
So of the 99, how many have wardens from the state? Because we don't. I'm not familiar with this at all.
I know I don't know that I would have an accurate answer because over the last 2 years specifically, the DNR has done a really good job of getting law enforcement officers back in the field and filling vacant positions. And that's just been kind of a change in the tide, as far as leadership goes, where they had vacant positions for years and years and years and they just never filled them. And it was more financial.
Now the swing is going
exactly.
back.
They're really going and doing a good job of filling those positions, which is great because, there has to be a level of protection for our natural resources because unfortunately there's always going to be people that are going to abuse them as well.
Are you ever in the helicopter doing the things?
No,
the helicopter things too?
I haven't done that. I do a lot of especially during deer season, we'll combine operations, type of thing where either it's myself or Cody or Brett, our two rangers, we're hopping in with the DNR and a lot of times we're riding kind of tandem in one vehicle or we're working operations where if we have specific areas that we're wanting to focus on.
Yeah, hi to your team members. Hi to Martha as well, who is our publisher's mom who I met this weekend and was like, why was that not a highlight? And it was a highlight, Martha. So looking at you. Martha aside, your team members aside, how big is your team? How many people do you have that manage the 18 and the 2,500 acres?
Yes, we have 7 full-time staff members at Washington County Conservation, and that it's kind of a bridge where I would say every single one of our positions, and one of the things I love about my job is it's something different every day, and that's what I really love about it, where I don't know that I could sit in an office and just be confined like that. I really like the idea that one day I'm out running a chainsaw all day, working on a trail project, maybe doing some timber stand improvement on something that we're working on, and then while I'm doing that, I'm getting a call about, hey, there's a law enforcement issue that needs taken care of out on the Key Wash Trail, and then right after that, there's hey, there's an injured owl that needs...
That is the weird thing.
To have something facilitated, to help out with that, because that's definitely been a hat that I've definitely added on to my vast array of hats over the last several years, is that I've kind of become the raptor rehabilitation guy here locally, which is great. I love it. So
well, we need to go to break, but right after break, we're going to start with the owl. We're going to start with the it's a raptor.
Raptor, yep, bird of prey.
Bird of prey. I can't believe it took down Al to get there, but I love that it did as we meander through learning about county conservation. You're watching Washington Live. Stick around after the break and we'll pick up with the raptor, bird of prey.
Since 1905, Kelowna Cooperative Technology Company has helped our community stay connected with the latest advancements in clear, dependable telecommunications services. KCTC provides rural Iowans with access to high-speed fiber internet, as well as phone, television, computer repair, and cybersecurity solutions. We're also proud supporters of local organizations and area schools within the community. KCTC, keeping Kelowna connected.
At the Capper Auto Group, we put our customers' needs first and understand that everyone is as different as the vehicle they select. We offer new Ford, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram vehicles in a friendly environment that puts you in the driver's seat. When it comes to service, we maintain factory-trained technicians and competitive pricing. The Capper Auto Group still believes that service after the sale provides the best customer experience. Come see the Capper experience for yourself.
Welcome back to Washington Live. I'm Jaron, and with us today is Nick and Zach. We have 3 topics to cover before we go to the birthday game, our trivial end of the show. They include the Owls, Southtown in the Kelowna area, south of Kelowna, and the Kewash Trail. Let's start with the bird of prey and how that becomes a hat that you wear. What is the process here? You injured owl, and we've talked about owls in our animal calls, and you sent a picture of one that you took care of. What are your duties in this category?
Yeah, so
and what's the process?
Well, first and foremost, I feel like this is the only reason why you asked me here today was to talk about the owl stuff.
I did text you several times about it.
No, it's great. I love talking about it. We kind of talked about earlier, one of the first calls that, law enforcement and conservation get, hey, we have injured animals, we have some animal inside of our residence, something like that. We get all those calls too, especially in the spring, when all mammals are pretty much, given birth, type of thing. Everything's given birth at the same time. You have an influx of animals that, maybe get lost, injured, whatever it might be. Unfortunately, there's not enough organizations out there that can rehabilitate every single one of those types of animals, for just people power, whatever that looks like. We're fortunate that we have a group here locally in Johnson County, which is called the RARE Group, which is Raptor Advocacy, Rehabilitation, and Education. And they're kind of up by the Menards area is where they're located, and they're willing to rehabilitate, but just strictly volunteers.
Raptor Advocacy,
Rehabilitation, and Education.
Which is close by, so you can transport.
Absolutely.
But how did you learn how to transport, how to take care of an owl, how to hold?
Yep.
I think of my grandpa Dean when there were some raccoons in a grain wagon in the barn, and we wondered if they were young enough that we could interact, and that was not the case. But as a child, I'm a little bit off track. I guess back to my question.
So
how do you learn how to interact with an owl?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate that the RARE Group, they actually teach classes on some of that, type of thing too. Growing up in the outdoors, had a lot of experience in even just programs that we've associated with the DNR, whether they're tagging operations for waterfowl and stuff like that, where you get an opportunity to kind of invest yourself as much as you want to in some of those projects. So you get more acclimated to kind of, handling wild animals. Because the biggest thing is that we don't want the general public to just be picking up wild animals all the time too. We want to be able to educate them, but also there's potential that can hurt you. I mean, if you look at that photo that's up there, if you look at the talons on that owl, you can realize
that's
really
not
quick.
A kitty cat. That is
right, exactly. I mean, that thing can do some damage to you really quickly, which this is a barred owl that's showing up there right now. And that was actually kind of located, we were talking about Highway 92, Birch Avenue, which is be located on the west side of Washington County.
Laceration to the head?
So most commonly what's going to happen is that they're getting hit by cars. Early on in the season, we talked about spring, fledglings are kind of figuring out whether or not they can fly or not. So they're testing their limits a little bit.
Do you know what since we're the gestation, an owl, and what they produce for a fledgling, is it 2 or 3, a smaller batch?
Typically, you're going to have clusters of 2 and 3, and depending on food availability, a lot of time owl fledglings will push the other fledglings out of the nest.
I was just going to ask what the survival rate is.
Yep, so that's pretty
33%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that exact percentage is, but that's pretty common that you'll have a dominant fledgling, where they're going to try to take most of the food and the nutrients, type of thing. So it's not uncommon where if you find one on the ground, it's not maybe because they fell, it's because they were pushed.
Yeah,
vicious.
The circle of life.
I mean, it's survival, siblings, so. Right? I mean, survival of the fittest when it comes down to it on some of that stuff. The one thing that's a little bit different is that when it happens out in the middle of nowhere in the timber, people aren't there to see it, but when it happens in town, because owls can have a lot of locations, especially here in the city of Washington.
And you hear them, absolutely. Immediately. That is not
Right. So you see them on the ground and you immediately think that there's something wrong or something's happened, where sometimes it's not something wrong. It's just nature kind of taking its course sometimes too, which can be difficult.
And it's been a while since we've had those owl calls, but we've reported each one that we see. And even in the Timber Ridge area, friends of mine, Melissa and her daughter Allie, were just driving on, and they did a full stop as they witnessed a non-injured owl just right in the middle of, urban meets rural situation.
Yep. And so like I was saying is that like a lot of times it's vehicles or windows, type of thing that they're striking. A lot of times you're going to see head injuries. But
was this your first owl, the one that you showed?
No, I mean, I should have kept a number on, I mean, it's a lot, because if you see any calls for service, I can guarantee you my phone has gone off, at some point in time related to it.
Well, we know when we do 92, you're the C number, C260, it doesn't matter. But
so a lot of times with like situations like this, I'm taking possession of the actual owl, kind of put him in a secluded area, either with a box, and I have like an actual pet crate that I just keep with me most of the time now, and just kind of put him in a secluded area, low light. You don't need to feed them, don't give them water, don't do anything like that. And then a lot of times I'm just making contact with the volunteer group, the rare group, and I'm transporting them.
You take to them.
Yep. A lot of times I'll offer to do that, type of thing. Because anytime you're working with volunteers, I'm going up to, Johnson County pretty regularly just for other work related stuff too. But either one of my staff or, someone will kind of make the transport up there for them. And then the thing that's really cool is that a lot of times we're able to do releases when they are rehabilitated.
How cool would that be?
It's unfortunate that it doesn't always end like that. It's not always, a point where they can be released back in the wild, but when they do, it's pretty special. It's a powerful moment, for sure.
Well, yeah, and that's not a moment that I suppose you could capture it on video, but not one that we do ribbon cuttings, people gather. It doesn't seem like that would be appropriate. That would be more traumatizing for the release.
Right.
It should be private and freeing.
Right.
I can see how that'd be special.
One of the things that's, I think, really unique about owls specifically is that, like, when they look at you can tell they're looking more superficial, and like into your, looking at you deeper, a little bit more too, or that's just, I don't know, there's something about it. It's unique.
Yeah, you're right. This was one, I don't know what the curiosity is. I'm intrigued. I've not met an owl, and maybe you'll have to keep my number at the top.
Yeah, for sure.
If I have the opportunity, I would love it in an appropriate way.
Yeah, and I would say too, my wife's a bit of a bird nerd when it comes down to it. And she always tells people all the time that like the best part of like one of the best things that's ever happened to her was me getting my current job, type of thing. Because sometimes she gets to like have the opportunity to assist with some of this, either the release or the transporting or something like that too, which is great.
I think that's what might have started my curiosity, in fact.
Yeah.
We have two more things to cover. It might be a little bit of a longer show today, but we have content, and this cerebral element is better than what we did on Wednesday. Whenever we talked about other dumb things. You sent a picture of the Key Wash. We were talking about your travels and why it's easy to go to Johnson County, because you're traveling all around Washington County with your obligations, one of which is in Kelowna, another of which would be the Key Wash. Let's show those improvements. You sent a photo. What do we have here?
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to highlight this specific location. So this is actually the Crooked Creek Bridge, which is roughly, 3.25 miles, or actually just under 2 miles is what I should say, west of Washington on the Key Wash Nature Trail. Key Wash, just for those that aren't familiar, it's 14 miles long, connects the city of Washington to Westchester, then to Keota.
Do you remember the rail line that they replaced? It was the Milwaukee.
Okay, yes, yeah, okay.
I was wondering, because I just did a town tour and it came right to. Otherwise, I wouldn't know off the top of my head, because we have the Kansas City Canadian Pacific, and that was the old Milwaukee line.
Yeah, no, that's great.
In the 90s, it started. Mike Saws was a big part of it.
Yep, 1992.
I don't know why I'm telling you these things. I just had to show off, I think.
Really? No, go ahead. I mean, I'd love for you to take the torch on it. But yeah, so this is kind of the end of what we called our phase 2 enhancements is what it was. So back in 2020, 2021, we started the phase 2 enhancements, which essentially was a concrete overlay where we went through that area to make it more accessible, because Crooked Creek Bridge is such a scenic location in Washington County.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of historically been a location for people to take photos, families to go out there. Kind of
It's
a hidden,
the right amount in. I feel like anyone
right,
can achieve it.
kind of a hidden gem of a
doable.
fishing hole, but because it takes a lot of walking to get out there. But if we're being honest, on a gravel trail that's made up of 3/8 minus, which is like a really small limestone, during different periods of time during the year, it might not be accessible if you had differing means of mobility.
Absolutely.
If you're
the difficulty would
if you're a
range
parent with
but-
a stroller, if you're confined to a wheelchair, anything like that. I mean, fluctuation in trail conditions would prevent you from seeing this location.
Sure.
So now it's we like to say that we like to work towards that we're all inclusive for everyone from a trail user standpoint, where we want everybody to be able to enjoy this location. And this kind of showcases a fix-it station, which is essentially a location where you could, if you needed to work on your bike, it has an air pump, located there, if anything
How
happened.
long has that been installed? When did that happen?
So I think with the snow being on the ground, this was probably, I want to say, right in November or December of this last year is when that was installed.
Is it easy
So-
to track the use of that equipment, or you have it there and it's there? I don't know how you would measure its effectiveness, but
I would say that it's definitely,
Perfect.
it's kind of hard to have a meter on that,
Yeah.
to know exactly how, but I think that in general, one of the things that we're continuing to fly our flag on is that essentially we're having higher usership of all of our trail systems in Washington County than ever before. That was kind of you never want to have a pandemic for some of that stuff to have to come to the surface, but access to recreation
Sure.
was something that absolutely came back to the forefront. It never went away, but it just came back to the forefront because a lot of other amenities in life went away.
I love the momentum. I remember the Kewash Trail as a child, and you're right about those varied conditions, and to see the phases, the
Yep.
paving, the improvements, Willow Pond,
Yeah.
the trailhead.
Yeah, it's
The
all
connection around
it's
that.
all great, and I
There's
think
so
and
many
I think a
things
really
happening.
great word to kind of describe it is just momentum. When it comes down to it, because I am a firm believer, and I think it's important in my position where we're always going to be looking for differing means of monetary, grants or however that is. Because one of the things that county conservation has always done a good job of is find the funding first and then find the project. Because almost every single project that we do, we hang our hat and say there were no local tax dollars went towards this project. If we're being honest, is there tax money with a federal
Absolutely,
grant?
but you pull
absolutely, but we're not asking.
our money still.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're pulling in the money that is available.
And I think there's a lot of momentum associated with this because living in rural Iowa should not exclude you from recreational amenities. And that's something that's really important to me. And I think that you can see across the county when we're talking about the Kewash, when we kind of transition into the Southtown here momentarily, those are all great examples of that.
And maybe we'll push, there's ARPA money available with the county, I think $4.8 million. It might be going one direction, but with our voice, maybe it can go another. We'll talk about that at another episode. I have some thoughts. That's another torque situation. In the meantime, let's hit on Southtown before we close out our episode with the birthday game. Southtown is...
Yes.
Did we send a picture of Southtown?
No, I don't have
No.
a picture included in that. So just to kind of do a quick recap,
Yeah.
that was kind of the annexation property that was added into the city of Kelowna, essentially.
With a
in the
lot of
south.
infrastructure in place.
Absolutely.
Beautiful location. It's
And the
so
word
popular.
and the word that we like to use with that is opportunity, because not very many communities, if any, would ever have an opportunity to have, approximately, and the number's kind of finicky of what the number of acres is, because there's private, commercial, public, all included in that, but approximately 600 acres,
How unique. Is there any project like this? that
Right,
you
and I
know
just-
of? I can't think of a thing that I've seen.
And that's what's so unique about it is that, when I first heard about this, I knew that we needed to protect the natural resources, because I grew up, going to the fireworks,
I remember.
in Richmond, kind of being a part of that. And I remember, hey, I know what the
Are you
fishery.
familiar with what we're talking about, Nick?
Not at all.
So this is right by Kelowna. It's south. There was a village, a community there that had a change in structure. So it became available, and all of this infrastructure was in place. This amphitheater, a traditional fireworks show that accompanied music. That was just their thing, where people could come in, and just an absolute beautiful, like you said, 600 acres, just a gem of a piece of our county.
Yeah.
And through partnerships with the city of Kelowna, it is now a development that also incorporates conservation. So we obviously have the development part, but for our viewers, what is the part that is the conservation part as we kind of fill people in?
Yeah, so I think that our role moving forward was that I thought it was paramount to protect the natural resources that are there. There's some great, native woodlots that are located there. There's several fisheries. There's probably going to be 2 or 3 ponds that are going to come under our umbrella that'll be open to public access. Odds are there's probably going to be some ponds that'll also be for maybe a homeowners association to manage that too. But then there will be a trail system. We've gone through and we've created a trail system. We're working really hard. We were just talking about funding for the Key Wash.
Is there a dream where they could connect? Can we go up Highway 1?
So
how would they connect? How could we get it done?
Yeah, so I think the short term, because everything that we're talking about 30 miles of trail here. This isn't going to happen overnight. We're going to really talk about it. But even back in 2018, when we were talking about the regional trails plan, we wanted to figure out ways to connect Wellman to Kelowna, Kelowna to Riverside, Richmond to Kelowna, and then maybe
up the Riverside Road.
Yeah. So, and I think
still kind of.
So I think, when we're specifically talking about Southtown, we're talking about connecting Southtown to City Park in Kelowna.
Sure.
That's the goal. That's the goal. So that would be the goal. But during that time, there's obviously a river we're going to have to cross at some point in time. So whether that's utilizing a current bridge that's in place or, creating a new bridge, regardless, it's going to be the creation of a new recreational node in the northern half of Washington County that's never really had something like that before.
True.
So anytime you're creating a new recreational location that's right off of Kelowna, but also in close proximity to Iowa City, you're going to draw a usership, without a doubt. So we're going to be, we've actually formulated a
destination.
Absolutely. And we've actually already created a 2080 agreement with the city of Kelowna. So conservation is going to manage the trail systems, kind of the fisheries, and then also, some of those woodlots that we're talking about, too. So we're ingrained into it. And the big thing right now is just securing funding because it's a big project. It's a big bite.
I feel like a jealous sibling, city of Washington, city of Kelowna. I'm like, more. But we work together. It's so great to work together. That's how we get things done.
Well, and it's all about partnerships. It really is because I've had a great relationship with Ryan Slaubaugh, the city administrator for the city of Kelowna, and he has access to funding that maybe it's something that I typically don't utilize, type of thing. Or like when we're applying for some of these grants, we're both writing our names on it. 2 entities, pooling our resources, working towards a common goal, and the people that are benefiting are the residents and visitors of Washington County, which is great.
Thank you for doing what you do to make it better for all of us. We'll have to have you back. We have more things to talk about, but we're going to close today's show out. I'm going to have to soak it all in. It'll take a minute. And thank you to our viewers, of course, for watching. Did we have any questions in the chat? Anything that popped up that we should address?
Let me take a quick look.
In the meantime, I will look at our birthdays. I do have a couple birthdays to wish, and then we have our birthday game. If you don't mind tapping into the trivial, we will play that.
I'm ready.
We can do it. First, happy birthday to Kim Wright, to John Harris, and Ismat. Our foreign exchange student that is now back, and a student, because I want to say names correctly, Abdurrahimov. Ismat, happy birthday. Kim, happy birthday. John, happy birthday. We also have our celebrity birthdays as we play our little competition, and there's plastic doesn't like it. I'm thinking conservation, plastic, all of the things. Anything you want to draw our attention to, Nick?
The national day today.
What is that?
Iodine Deficiency Disorder Day. So if you have that, get some iodine in your system.
I'm not familiar. Your wife might be able to tell us more about. Well, it's iron, right?
Iodine. Is that
so the only thing I know about this is they put iodine in salt because otherwise we could have thyroid issues.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. We've learned one more thing as we close out today's show. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birthdays. Let's take it away.
Should we hop right into it?
Let's knock it out.
All right. So you guess the celebrity birthday who's today. Within 3 years, you get a point. If you're right on, you get 2 points. The amount of dead on answers is the tiebreaker. First up, we have Kim Kardashian.
Brilliant, but he's bad at math. Yeah. I hope.
We have Kim Kardashian as the first one. So who's going first?
Why don't you go first, and then we'll trade off.
I'm going to say that she is 38.
I'm 38. I don't look that good. I will go 39. She might be 40, actually.
You already go on the strategy. That's why I wanted me to go first.
She is 42, so Jaron, you get a point.
Oh, I snag one. All right.
Barely get a point.
Strategy works. I'll go first on this next one, which I What do we have?
Doja Cat.
Oh,
I don't know if it's a soft J or not.
I don't know if that's appropriate for our Washington live show, but I will.
This was one of the more appropriate ones. Trust me.
I have no 30.
I believe she's actually a little younger, so I'm going to say 25.
You guys both get a point. She's 27.
Sweet.
It's 2-1 right now.
I'm typically bad at this game, so that is awesome.
Now we're gonna kind of jump a few decades now to Judge Judy.
Ooh. Is it? I mean, first.
I mean, the show. Her show was like probably really big in the '90s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Are
that's
we close in age? Are you younger? It doesn't matter, I suppose. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know if I want to offend you on the air, so.
Well, that's like 22 or 3.
23.
I know, it's crazy. So you're first.
I felt like she was probably in her 60s, like during that time. Like, so I'm going to say that she's 82.
You are a mind reader. I would have done the same. So Price is Right strategy, 83 for me.
She is 80, so you guys both get a point again.
She's what?
80.
80.
So you guys both get
Just
a point.
Young 80.
3-2.
I'm not going to be ashamed to win this one. I'm feeling a little competitive. Normally I want to be gracious. But
where's the next one? Next up we have Andrew Scott, an Irish actor, Fleabag.
That's where it's
Sherlock, 1917.
Do you have time to watch any shows? Can you carve out a minute in your day?
I do. A lot of times I'm just watching like YouTube at this point in time, with either sports or something or like that.
Yellowstone?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit. So
yeah. Talking about that yesterday. Okay, I'm just procrastinating. I think I'm first for Andrew Scott.
Yep.
I'll do 43.
I'll go 40.
He is 46. So Jaron, you're 4 for 4. I think this might be the best you've ever done.
It is definitely the best you've ever done. We're setting records.
Well, if you get right on here, Zach, you can still at least tie it. Where is
one more? It looks like
Kane Brown, the country singer. Don't ask me to name a song. I honestly could not tell you.
All right. Yeah, I have no idea. I think. Are you first with this one?
Yep, I'll go first.
Do you know Kane Brown?
I do know who Kane Brown is. I'm gonna say 33.
I'll trust his lead. I'll go 31.
Jaron, I'm proud of you. He's 29. So he went 5 for 5.
Jeez,
this is a record.
Clean sweep.
I am blown away, especially after the brilliance.
I don't feel like I was like far off on any of them.
Now, you were so. Let's see.
I didn't take the strategy.
Yeah, you were 1 year off on the first one. Yeah, you're just so close on all of them.
The fact is that you brought the best out of me. And that's a show that goes a little longer than normal shows, but only because the content was packed with great information, and I appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me today. Thank you.
We'll have to have you back, and I'll look forward to when that happens. On the next episode of Washington Live. I'll be gone on Monday. I have Main Street Washington interviews with some of our finalists for that position. I'm looking forward to our guest host or our
Diana Rich will be ghost host.
I like that.
Yes.
We're sharing.
Yes, Diana Rich and then Nick Pasha.
Diana Rich and Nick Pasha on Monday's show. Tune in then. We'll see you at that next episode of Washington Live, powered by KCTC. See you soon.